Our Marlins are in a very tight NLCS here with the New York Mets. The series is tied at 2, and now it becomes a best of 3. Today we'll be playing games 5 and 6. If either team wins both games, the series is over, and that would imply either we're going to the World Series or the season's over. If we split, then we'll be going to a Game 7, which would be in the next episode. So last time around, we played games 3 and 4, and the results were certainly interesting. We won Game 3 by the score of 17-3. We needed the offense to step up because they had been disappointing throughout the entire postseason, and boy, did they step up. Impressively, this was not even the best offensive performance throughout the postseason. I mean, these same New York Mets scored 16 runs in 1 inning in the previous round of the playoffs. Game 4, our offense looked really good again. We scored in each of the first 3 innings, and it looked like it was going to be another strong performance from the bats. And then we just forgot how to hit the ball. We didn't score for the final 6 innings. We also didn't score in the 10th inning. The Mets ended up winning as Emmanuel Clase ultimately blew the game, allowing the final runs in each of those 2 innings to tie the series up at 2. So now the series becomes a best of 3. And if it goes the full length, we would have 2 games at home and our 3 best pitchers all on the mound. That starts with games 5 and 6. Game 5 in particular, the final game at Citi Field. We've got Casey Mize on the mound. He pitched in game 1 and will go up against the rookie, Christopher Rice. The Mets have a lot of youngsters within their pitching staff, one of the youngest groups in baseball, whereas the Marlins pitching staff is on the older side with all the veteran experience that we've acquired over the past couple of seasons. It's a rainy one here in Queens. The weather not the best tonight, but the show must go on. The winner of this game takes a 3-2 series lead, headed back to Miami for Game 6 and possibly a Game 7 if it gets there. The results in this series have certainly been interesting. The Marlins offense has been nothing short of a roller coaster with some really bad stretches in the first 2 games and then exploding to score 20 runs over the last 2 games, despite the fact that we haven't drove anybody in since the top of the 3rd of Game 4. Let's take a look at both lineups, regular starters for the Marlins, as we take a look at Christopher Rice, who has pitched in 50 innings over his Major League career, spanning 2 innings, but he's essentially a rookie. He's only started in 2 of those games, and he's been pretty solid. ERA right around 4, whip at 1.3. Rice was a guy who we liked. Coming out of high school in the very first draft of the series, got drafted in the 2nd round by the Giants, did not sign, and ended up with the Mets. As Isaac Stu gets that one past the second baseman for a base hit, that play really should be an error on Santiago Espinal. I get the ball was hit hard, but you got to make the play. Nonetheless, we're not complaining as the Marlins get an early base runner. That'll bring up Woody Landrew, who's been up and down throughout the postseason, but he's homered in each of the last 2 games here at Citi Field. Pops it up in the right center, though. Meadows is under it. He'll come down with the grab, and the Mets get through the top of the 1st inning, not allowing any runs, with one base runner left aboard. Here is Casey Mize, who's pitched in 2 games so far this postseason, and he's been pretty good. 2.45 ERA, 1.09 whip, 1-0. He pitched in game 1 of this series and was all right in what ultimately ended up being a Marlins loss. With 1 away, Santiago Espinal rips it down the line. De La Cruz has to go all the way to the corner at the wall to get to it, and that'll be a double. So the Mets get a runner in scoring position for the heart of the order. Francisco Alvarez, the catcher, is up with 2 away. Espinal now at 3rd as he goes down on the curveball. Well outside the strike zone. Mize completely fools him. So both teams get a hit here in the 1st inning, but no further damage is done. Let's move into the 2nd. 2 away here for Brian De La Cruz, who has also had an up-and-down postseason, OPS below 600, but he rips a single here into right field, and so the Marlins get a base runner here with 2 away. We'll see if they can potentially look to do some damage. Luis Rengifo has also had his good moments and bad here in the month of October. Count is full, and he hits a sharp liner to second. Espinal makes the play. Throw to first is in time. So again, the Marlins get 1 hit. No further damage done. Let's see if the Mets can get some offense going here in the bottom of the 2nd. Josh Naylor has performed really well throughout the entire postseason, but he goes down on the high splitter. That was a good pitch to hit too, but he just mistimed it. Austin Meadows now up 2 away. He finds himself behind in the count, 1-2. And he will hit this one up the middle. Going to be a tough play for the rookie, Khalil Watson. And he's able to make the grab and the throw. Good start here for Casey Mize. So far, so good for both pitchers as we move into the third inning. Up for Miami is Kevin Alcantara as we return to the top of the order. Count is 3-1, and he draws a walk, his first of the entire postseason. So the Marlins have a runner aboard. Their best offensive player is due up, and that'll start with Jazz Chisholm. And he hits a sharp liner into left. That'll go for a hit. And now the Marlins have 2 runners on and a great opportunity to put themselves on the scoreboard. They struggled to set the tone in each of the first 2 games. Maybe not so much the last 2. As Isaac Stu puts it on the ground. This could turn 2, 3, 6, 3 double play for the Mets. Good scoop by Josh Naylor at first to get it started. And so the Mets get out of the inning. Not a bad start for Christopher Rice in his first career postseason game. Bottom 3, Yohan Moncada goes down looking. Moncada, another guy who's played really well throughout the entire month for the Mets. Ronnie Mauricio now, 3-2. Hits it sharply into center. That should drop, and it will for a base hit. So the Mets get their second base runner at the game. And we'll see if they can drive in the speedy Mauricio. He's got some wheels. That'll bring up Manuel Margot, who gets that one past the diving glove of Jazz Chisholm for a base knock. And Miami allows another runner. Mauricio's going to make it over to third as Sanchez was slow to get to it in left field. So if this is put in place solidly, the runner should score. And Espinal singles into center. His second hit of the ball game. Run scores, and the Mets are on the board first as they lead it 1-0 with an RBI single by Santiago Espinal. 2 on, 2 away now for the catcher, Francisco Alvarez, and he strikes out again. He got fooled by the low stuff, this time the splitter. The Mets do drive in the first run of the game, though, with a single by Espinal, and they lead it 1-0. Into the fourth now. The Marlins have not scored in 10 consecutive innings after their hot streak from Game 3 into Game 4 as Woody Landry rips a single into left center. Again, I'll never understand why teams run the shift with him. It never works. That'll bring up Jesus Sanchez, and he hits this ball high and deep into left. Back at the track, at the wall. It is caught. I feel like Jesus Sanchez has hit the ball fairly well, but he's struggled over the last few games. For a guy who's a really good postseason performer, he hasn't looked like himself over the last week or so. MJ Melendez puts it on the ground. Bobby Witt Jr. deflects it, but he's not going to be able to make the throw to first. And similarly to the Mets, the Marlins get 2 runners aboard and a great opportunity to drive in some runs. Brian De La Cruz got a hit in his first at bat, and it looks like he'll get another. Rips it into right center field. One hops off the wall. First run scores. Melendez looks to join, and there will be no throw from the cutoff man. A 2-run double for Brian De La Cruz, and the Marlins lead it 2-1. De La Cruz makes it to third now, 2 away for Khalil Watson, and he puts this one on the ground. Espinal should make the play, and he does, but the Marlins get 2. They take the lead with a 2-run double by Brian De La Cruz. Is off to a great start tonight, 2 for 2. Let's go bottom 4. Naylor leads it off for New York. Pitch from Mize, and he got him looking, painting the corner there on the outside top part of the plate. Bobby Witt Jr. now up for the Mets, hitting a solid .317 here in the postseason as he gets a single into left. Casey Mize started the game off really well, only allowing 1 base runner in the first 2 innings. I feel like he's starting to slow down a little bit. 2 away now for Yohan Moncada, and he crushes this ball into right field. De La Cruz can only watch it as it goes over the fence for a 2-run shot. Yohan Moncada's second of the playoffs, and the Mets get their lead right back. The Marlins get 2 in the top half of the inning, and the Mets get 2 in the bottom half. A big swing for Yohan Moncada, and it's now 3-2. At first, it really looked like this game was going to be a pitching duel, but both of these offenses have very much woken up. That'll bring up Ronnie Mauricio. Hits it well in the left. Sanchez under it. He'll make the grab. A big 4th inning for both offenses, each getting 2, with a 2-run double by De La Cruz, followed by a 2-run blast by Yohan Moncada. The Mets are going to make a pitching change as Richie Ratto comes into the game, allowing 1 run and 1 postseason inning so far. All things considered, I think Christopher Rice pitched a pretty good game for New York. He was pretty steady up until that 4th inning. Kevin Alcantara leads off the inning, and he strikes out on the fastball, frustrated with himself. Alcantara has been one of the best players for this Marlins team throughout the postseason. Full count now for Jazz Chisholm, and he goes down on the fastball as well. Chisholm swung late there. He was trying to be conservative, but once he saw the pitch was going to be in the zone, it was kind of too late. 2-2 now for Stu. He goes down on the fastball as Richie Rado strikes out the side, getting all three batters to go down on fastballs. And the Mets hold on to their 3-2 lead as we go into the bottom of the fifth. The Marlins will make a pitching change as well. Casey Mize' night is over. He'll be replaced by Joe Shearer, who's been pretty solid so far, not allowing a base runner in 2 postseason innings as he gets Manuel Margot to go down on, once again, the fastball. Brandon Nimmo now hits this one down the left field line, going Oppo Taco as it rolls to the corner, and Nimmo makes it into second with a double. The Mets get a runner in scoring position here with 2 away, and a great opportunity to potentially add to this lead. Alvarez has struck out twice tonight, 3rd time's the charm as he checks his swing. I don't think he went around, and I think that pitch was high, but I'm not going to complain. Shearer gets out of the inning as it remains 3-2, and we move into the 6th. Jesus Sanchez is up with 1 away and a full count, and Sanchez rips it to first, again hitting the ball well, 102 off the bat, but Naylor was at the right place at the right time, and he makes a nice grab. MJ Melendez now with 2 gone and a full count, hits this one to third. Good scoop by Moncada with the home run a couple innings ago. Good inning from Richie Rado. And the Marlins are going to have to pick it up. Ever since their strong 4th inning, they really haven't gotten much going at the plate. Bottom 6, here's Josh Naylor. Rips it to first. Woody Landry grabs the liner, 106 off the bat. Woody had to make a quick play there, and to his credit, he does. Austin Meadows draws a walk. That pitch just a little bit outside. And the Mets get a runner here with 2 away. Moncada grounds it over to short. Jazz Chisholm flips it to Watson. 2 very strong innings for Joe Shearer. I wouldn't be surprised if this is it for him. And I think the Marlins are going to go to the strength of the bullpen. Look to see guys like Duvall and Duran likely warming up and entering this game. Brian De La Cruz leads off the 7th. He's 2 for 2 so far today with a pair of hits. And he might have gotten another one here. It's high and deep in a right center. Does it have enough carry? Not quite. But it does go off the wall. Brian De La Cruz is 3 for 3 today now with a pair of doubles. Brian De La Cruz last year really struggled for most of the playoffs, but it seemed like he figured things out when his team needed him the most, and it seems like he's doing that here again. Luis Rengifo goes down on the low changeup, not pleased with himself, throwing the bat in disgust, and the Mets are going to make a pitching change here, bringing in Salvatore Russo. The timing is smart because Rengifo obviously mashes against lefties. So originally, this was supposed to be Khalil Watson. He'll be replaced by the pinch hitter Alec Boehm, and he lines out to second. Nice grab by Santiago Espinal. The Marlins are now going to need a base hit from Kevin Alcantara if they want to drive this run across, and Kevin Alcantara is going to do exactly that. Rips it into left field. Margot's not going to be able to get that ball in time for the run to score, as we are tied at 3 with an RBI double by the young Kevin Alcantara. And the Marlins are right back in the game. Not that they were ever really out of it, but they tie it up here at 3. Jazz Chisholm gets fooled by the outside slider. Great pitch by Rousseau, and a good play at short to get out of the inning. But the Marlins tie it with an RBI double from Kevin Alcantara as we move into the bottom of the 7th. Camilo Duvall comes into the game for the Marlins. It's time for the back-end bullpen of death to make sure the Mets don't score here within these next couple of innings. Duvall, an all-star this year, has only allowed 1 run so far in the postseason. As Ronnie Mauricio checks his swing, umpire says he went around. That's strike 3. That'll bring up Santiago Espinal with 2 away. Grounds it to third. Routine snag for Alec Boehm. He makes the throw, and Camilo Duvall retires the side with no issue. Anyone's game here in Citi Field as we're tied at 3, moving into the 8th. Russo will stay in the game. He'll face off against Woody Landry with 1 away. Woody has a hit so far today as he rips this one down the line. Going to be a tough play. Backhanded throw by Moncada is not in time. That ball only went 61 miles an hour off the bat, but Woody Landry hits it just well enough and just fair enough. Again, had the Mets not played the shift there, he would have been out. Jesus Sanchez now hits this ball high and deep into center at the track, at the wall. It's caught. Case in point, Jesus Sanchez is mashing, but nothing is dropping. Big at bat here now for MJ Melendez. I'm intrigued to see that they're keeping Rousseau in the game. As we know, Melendez hits lefties really well. 1 for 3 today. And he pops this one up into no man's land. Bobby Witt Jr. should track it down, and he does. Big out for Rousseau. He makes it through the 8th. No further damage done, and this game remains tied at 3. Into the bottom of the 8th now, Johan Duran comes in for the Marlins. Very similar stat line to Duvall. He's only allowed 1 run and 5 postseason innings thus far as he faces off against Josh Naylor, who's had a pretty tough day at the plate, and he rips this one solidly into right, but De La Cruz comes down with it. Through 8, still knotted up at 3. Can either team get anything going here in the 9th inning, or could we be headed to extras? The Mets are going to bring Edwin Diaz into the game now. It's not a save situation, but they want to put their best foot forward, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the Marlins do the same with Emmanuel Clase, regardless if they score. De La Cruz hits this ball well, 3 for 3 today, but he pops it up and it is caught by Meadows. De La Cruz was 3 for 3 before that, and he doesn't even make a play. Hopefully these other guys at the back end of the order are able to. Luis Rengifo, the 3-2, swing and a miss. 1-0-2 from Edwin Diaz. That ball came flying in, and before Rengifo could even react, well, that ball was basically at the zone. Jacob Berry comes in off the bench, 2 for 4 so far in the postseason, but he jams it into left. Margot makes the play. And so Edwin Diaz does his job. He retires the side, and we go to the bottom of the 9th where the Marlins will bring Emmanuel Clase into the game. This is an interesting decision because Clase had an opportunity to get the save in Game 4, and he blew it, allowing a run in the 9th inning. He came back in the 10th, and he allowed another run there. Austin Meadows is up with 1 away, and he hits this ball high and deep into right. De La Cruz at the track, at the wall. It's going to be close. It's gone! And the New York Mets walk it off. A solo home run for Austin Meadows, barely scraping over the fence, as Emmanuel Clase, the $55 million closer, blows another game here in the NLCS. The Mets win it 4-3, and they take a 3-2 series lead, headed back to Miami. What a swing for Meadows, his first home run in the entire playoffs, and he couldn't have picked a better time to do it. It barely got over the fence. De La Cruz timed the jump perfectly, but it was just a few feet over his glove, and he was never really going to have an opportunity to grab it. Clase was looking to throw that fastball outside, the area of the strike zone where Meadows really struggles with, but he mislocates the pitch. It goes right down the middle, and Austin Meadows capitalizes as it just barely gets over the fence. So with that, the Marlins trail 3-2, and that means if we want to make the World Series, we've got to win 2 in a row at our place, and that starts with Game 6 here today. So no matter what happens, we will not advance to the World Series in this episode. Either we're going to bring it to Game 7, hopefully that ends up being the case, or if we lose, the season's over, and it'll be back to the drawing board once again. The offense just didn't do enough. Brian De La Cruz was great, 3 hits, drove in 2. Woody had a couple hits. Kevin Alcantara made some nice plays. He drove in the tying run in the 7th. But other than that, nobody else really stepped up. Casey Mize was fine. He wasn't great. I will say the bullpen before Emmanuel Clase did pitch really, really well. They kept us in the entire game. But the Mets hit the big homer from Meadows when they needed it to ultimately get the win. Moncada played well. Espinal played well. Christopher Rice had a pretty good start. And the bullpen did their job as well. So with that, our season is on the line here in Game 6. As for the ALCS, which has also been super competitive so far, the Minnesota Twins ended up winning all 3 games in Cleveland. The road team is 5-0 in that series, and the Twins are 1 win away from advancing to the World Series. They're going to have to win one of those games at home, which has clearly been an issue for those teams. As for our home, that's where the NLCS will come to a close. The question: which team makes it to the World Series? The Mets only have to win one of these 2 games, whereas the Marlins are going to have to take 2 in a row. Miami was presented with an interesting decision pitching-wise today because Edward Cabrera has had 3 full days of rest, and he didn't have to pitch that much in Game 3 because the offense was so good. He only threw 5 innings. Had the offense played at a normal level, he would have likely thrown 7 or 8. Ultimately, the Marlins are not going to roll with Edward Cabrera, knowing that they would still hypothetically need him for a Game 7. And instead, it'll be Luis Severino on the mound. Sevy's pitched really well in the postseason. He's been better than Edward Cabrera so far here in October. And we're going to put our season basically into his right arm. Again, regular starters for the most part for the Marlins, other than instead of Luis Rengifo, it'll be Jacob Berry at third base. In 2 postseason starts for Luis Severino, he's averaged 6 innings per outing. He's only allowed 2 runs in 12 1/3 innings with a whip barely above 1. Severino pitched in Game 2 of this series, got the win. He was really good, and hopefully he can pitch just as well, although this is not a good start. Manuel Margot leads the game off, ripping it into left field. That one rolls to the wall, and it'll end up being a double. A quick start for the Mets. They want to end things tonight. They want to give themselves some extra rest, leading to a World Series matchup with either Cleveland or Minnesota. Santiago Espinal rips it into right. That'll score Margot with no problem. Espinal the second. He is going to be safe, although that was awfully close. And so the Mets are on the board. They lead at 1-0. Brandon Nimmo rips it to first. Woody Landry bobbles it. He's able to send it over to Severino for the out. Espinal makes it to third, though. If this ball is put in play, the Mets could get another run. Francisco Alvarez goes down looking on the cutter. Big pitch by Severino, and now they would need a base hit to drive him in from Naylor. Low pitch over to third. Jacob Berry snags it, and the third of first is a close one, but it's in time. The Mets do set the tone early with an early run driven in by Santiago Espinal. Max Butterball will start for the Mets. He pitched in Game 2, and he was brilliant, taking a perfect game into the 6th inning, but ultimately he allowed a homer in that 6th inning to Isaac Stu, and the Marlins offense played really well after that to get the win. No perfect game today as Jazz Chisholm draws a walk. Jazz Chisholm was the first batter who he allowed on base in Game 2. And then here's Isaac Stu, who rips one down the line and foul. That was awfully close. It looked like it was going to be fair. As you can see, it bounces foul. And then at the end, it actually does go fair. But obviously, that's a foul ball. If that's a few inches to the right originally, that's an extra base hit. It probably scores Jazz Chisholm. Instead, Stu hits this ball really well into left field. At the track, at the wall, it's caught. I thought that foul ball was going to be a blessing in disguise, but unfortunately not, as that ball just barely dies at the wall. Woody Landry now, count is 1-2. Woody is the highest OPS of any qualified Marlin here in October. As he rips it sharply to first, Naylor has a little trouble with it, but he makes the play, flips it over to Butterball, who gets through the first inning with no further damage done, as the Mets lead 1-0. Let's move into the second now. Bobby Witt Jr. leads it off for New York, and he hits this ball well into right field. Sanchez chases after it, but he won't get to it. Solo home run for Bobby Witt Jr., his first of the postseason, and the Mets add to their lead as it's 2-0. In an elimination game here for the Marlins, they already have dug themselves a hole that's going to be challenging to get out of. A big swing for Witt going 372 feet, and the Mets so far are looking strong. 2 gone for Ronnie Mauricio. He pops it up into foul territory. Sanchez roams after it, and he will come down with the grab. Not a bad inning, though, for the Mets. They add another run with the homer by Bobby Witt Jr., and they lead it 2-0. The Marlins got to get something going quick. They can't have another game where they get no base runners until, like, the 5th inning. With 2 away, De La Cruz bobbles it to the pitcher. Nice play by Butterball to scoop it up and make the throw as he retires the side. Max Butterball looks really good again, hasn't allowed any hits, and only 1 walk so far as we move into the third. Manuel Margot leads things off for the Yankees, scored in his first at-bat off of a leadoff double, but this time he chases the outside slider. Santiago Espinal was the one who drove in Margot previously. Again, it's the slider, and ultimately he draws a walk. That'll bring up Brandon Nimmo with the runner looking for second. As it's a liner, Woody makes the play, takes his sweet old time, and flips it over to Severino for the double play. It's like Woody Landry caught it and had no clue what to do with it. But the Marlins do get the double play nonetheless as we go bottom 3. Khalil Watson leads it off, hits it solidly into left, and Margot makes the grab! What a catch by Manuel Margot, extending like an NFL wide receiver. Holy cow. That was at least a double for Watson had he not come down with it. Jacob Berry goes down looking on the fastball. Good pitch by Butterball, who still hasn't allowed a hit yet, albeit with some help from his defense. Kevin Alcantara now the 1-2. Got him on the fastball again. 3 no-hit innings for Max Butterball. who has thrown 8 2/3 innings in this series against the Marlins and has allowed just 2 hits and 3 base runners. Francisco Alvarez draws a walk, and the Mets start the inning with a runner. That'll bring up Josh Naylor, who goes down on the circle change. Good pitch by Luis Severino, who seems to be pitching better since allowing the home run to Bobby Witt Jr., who is up. Hits it well into center. It makes it to the warning track, to the wall. But Kevin Alcantara is there to grab it for the second out of the inning. So that'll bring up the number 7 hitter, that being Austin Meadows, who had the walk-off in the last game. Hits it well into right center. That one is going to bounce into the gap, and it'll go for extra bases. Run looks to score. The throw from Jazz Chisholm to the plate is not in time, and the Mets add another one. An RBI double for Austin Meadows, and it's now 3-0 as New York adds to their lead. Yoan Moncada strikes out on the circle change, but not before the Mets get an RBI double from Austin Meadows. They lead at 3-0. Something's got to give soon, right? Isaac Stu up here in the 4th, and Stu rips it into right field. A no-doubter as he tosses the bat down, and it goes into the second deck. And the Marlins make it 3-1. Stu with just his second home run of the postseason. Isaac Stu has been ice cold this entire series, but here in the elimination game, he makes a play. His second homer, his first one, of course, was also off of Max Butterbaugh back in Game 2. Jesus Sanchez now 2 away, rips this one down the line and fair. Another hit for the Marlins as this one makes it all the way to the corner out in left field. Sanchez gets a double, and it appears the offense has woken up alive and well. Well, maybe not well, but they are alive. MJ Melendez grounds it to short. Bobby Witt Jr. will make the play. Both teams trade off runs here in the 4th. Good to see the Marlins offense doing something with the homer by Isaac Stu, and we move into the 5th. Then while Margot is up here with 1 away, Severino, interestingly, still in the game as Margot strikes out, dropped 3rd strike, but he is still out at first. Severino has not had all that great of a performance, but the Marlins clearly feel confident that he's going to be able to make it through the rest of the inning. As Santiago Espinal lines it sharply into center, Alcantara makes the grab, and that'll likely end Luis Severino's night. 5 innings, 3 earned runs. Definitely not as good as we were hoping for, but certainly not bad enough either. Good enough to keep us in the game, put it that way. Here's Brian De La Cruz. He opens up the bottom of the 5th with a base hit, and the Marlins start the inning with a runner as the offense is continuing to start to look a lot better. De La Cruz is aboard after his 3-hit game previously in Game 5. Jacob Berry now hits this one high and deep into left center. It's got Carey at the track, at the wall. It's gone! A 2-run blast for Jacob Berry. And we're tied at 3. Berry obviously did not have a good regular season whatsoever. We did not have him on the postseason roster for the NLCS against the Cubs, but we decided to bring him up because I remembered how good he was last year in the postseason. And sure enough, in his biggest at-bat of the season, he takes one deep to tie it up. Kevin Alcantara draws a walk. Another base runner for the Marlins. Max Butterbaugh is quickly starting to lose control of this game. The Mets are going to keep him in, though, for now, as Jazz Chisholm hits this one into right. That'll go for a hit, and the offense continues to keep the wheels churning. 5 hits and a walk, as there's now 2 runners aboard for Isaac Stu. The 3-2, ball 4 on the high fastball. Stu homered earlier. I can understand why Butterbaugh didn't really want to throw to him. And so the Mets are going to take Butterbaugh out of the game. He looked really strong through the first 3 innings. Very reminiscent to Game 2 of this series, but also reminiscent to Game 2. He fell, and he fell quick. 3 earned runs in 4 1/3 innings, and that number could go up. The Mets are going to bring in Prince Lindstrom, and I really don't get this decision at all. 5 1/3 innings. His ERA is at 15. His batting average allowed is over 500. It's not like this guy was really good in the regular season. He didn't pitch in the regular season. These are the first 5 innings of his big league career. Woody crushes it into right, and it's foul by about 10 feet. Do you think the baseball gods are really going to let the Marlins do something with the bases loaded in a playoff game, especially a grand slam? Woody here tops this one. It was a fastball right down the middle at 92 miles an hour. The perfect pitch to absolutely crush, and he got under it. Bobby Witt makes the play. That'll bring up Jesus Sanchez, who had a base hit in his last at-bat, the 1-2. Got him looking on the high fastball. Sanchez wanted to be aggressive, but he also didn't want to swing at anything bad. And so Prince Lindstrom makes it through the inning. The Marlins leave him loaded. They get 2. Still a very successful inning, but I feel like they could have done more. So Luis Severino's day is done here after 5. He'll be replaced by Reynaldo Lopez, who's allowed 3 runs in 3 postseason innings. Hasn't been all that good so far, hoping to shift the narrative here. Against Brandon Nimmo. High fly ball into right. And the Mets get one back. They will regain the lead. Solo homer for Brandon Nimmo, his first of the postseason. Feels like everybody's getting their first October home runs in this episode. And it's now 4-3 as Reynaldo Lopez's questionable postseason run continues. Josh Naylor goes down on the circle change. Good pitch by Lopez. Bobby Witt Jr. now pops this one up. Khalil Watson tracks after it. He makes the play. But the Mets get one back with the homer by Nimmo, the well-known minority respecter. And it's 4-3. The Marlins back down where they've been all day. Khalil Watson with 2 away grounds it to first. Prince Lindstrom faces off against 5 batters, and he retires all of them. That's pretty embarrassing for a guy who, to be nice, is not currently qualified to pitch in the month of October. The Marlins are going to keep Lopez in the game here in the 7th, interestingly. Good play there by Woody Landry at first to get the out. Yohan Moncada hits it well into center. It's got some carry, but Alcantara comes down with it for out number 2. Looks like the decision to keep Lopez in, albeit perplexing on paper, might have worked out. Or maybe not. Ronnie Mauricio will get this one to one hop off the wall out and right. Going to be a close play at second. Sanchez the throw, not in time, and it's a double for Ronnie Mauricio. The reason why we kept Lopez in to begin with is because we wanted to push our back-end relievers an inning later, simply because we don't trust Emmanuel Clase, who's blown 2 straight games. After allowing the double, though, I think Camilo Doval needs to come into the game against Margot. Flies it into right. Sanchez comes down with it. And so the Marlins get out at the 7th, not allowing any further damage as it remains 4-3. Bottom 7, Berry leads it off. Homered in his last at-bat. Can the Marlins get another big hit out of him? No, he strikes out. The Marlins season is really coming down to it. They're down by 1 late in the game. Somebody's got to step up and make the moment. Otherwise, the season's over. Kevin Alcantara thinks he drew a walk. Doesn't get the call. That pitch looked like it was right on the edge, but I think it was a little bit inside. 3-2, draws a walk anyway. That pitch looked more in the strike zone than the last one did. But Alcantara's patient, doesn't get anything he loves, and so he gets the walk. Lindstrom's taken out of the game. Give him credit, he pitched pretty well. He'll be replaced by Salvatore Russo. The Mets want to get the lefty-on-lefty matchup here, but the Marlins have stacked their lineup to where he's going to have to see some lefty mashers. Jazz Chisholm opens things up, and he goes down on the slider. The Mets are 7 outs away from advancing to the World Series. That'll bring Isaac Stu up, one of those guys who happens to mash lefties. He fouls one off. That was the perfect pitch to hit. A curveball coming in, and he swings a little bit early. Counts now 2-2 for Stu, and he hits this ball high and deep into left center. It's got distance at the track, at the wall. It's gone! A 2-run homer for Isaac Stu, his 2nd of the game. And the Marlins take their first lead of the night. It's now 5-4. Isaac Stu has not been all that good throughout this series, but when the Marlins have needed him to make plays, he does. Isaac Stu seems to yearn for the moment. Last year in Game 7 of the World Series, comes off the bench in the 8th inning, hits a pinch hit homer to tie it up. Did we win that game? No. We let a child predator hit a homer in the following inning, but that's not the point. Isaac Stu makes plays when plays are needed to be made. 3-2 now for Woody Landry. He hits it into left center, and it's caught by Margot. For the first time ever, the shift actually works against Woody Landry. It only took, 4 seasons? But it finally happened. Nonetheless, the Marlins take the lead with a 2-run homer by Stu, and we move into the 8th. The Mets now trail by 1. They get the potential tying run aboard to start the inning. It's a base hit for the second baseman, Santiago Espinal. He'll be replaced by the speedster, Ryan McKenna. The Mets aren't messing around. They want to get this guy in. That'll bring up Brandon Nimmo, homered in his last at-bat. Lines it to short, and it's caught by Jazz. What an athletic play by Jazz Chisholm to snag that ball. And that does go over his glove. That's an extra base hit that probably scores McKenna The Marlins were playing in, hoping for the double play, but hey, that works too. Francisco Alvarez is up now, the 1-2. He hits this one high. It's pretty deep and a right. Sanchez under it. He will make the play for the second out. McKenna has to head back to first. And the Mets are going to need a big hit here if they want to drive in this runner. Big opportunity here for the number 5 hitter, that being Josh Naylor. 1-1. Grounds it to second. Watson flips it over to second. And so Camilo Duvall gets through the inning. No further damage done. The Marlins lead by 1 going into the bottom of the 8th. Let's see if the Fish can finish off the job. Michael King will come out of the bullpen here for the Mets. He's allowed 3 runs in 3 2/3 postseason innings so far. The Marlins may lead by 1, but they want more. Francisco Lindor will play second for the pinch runner McKenna. Lindor has not played at all in the postseason this year, and it's not because of injury. It's because he hasn't been good. The Mets have 3 more years of him on that big contract, so you got to still enjoy him, New York, as Jesus Sanchez leads off the inning with a walk. That'll bring up Brian De La Cruz. Launches it into left! Flips the bat as it's gone into the seats over the bullpen. 2-run homer for Brian De La Cruz. His first of the postseason. And the Marlins add some much-needed insurance as it's now 7-4. Big swing from De La Cruz, who has been awesome over the last 2 games after really doing nothing the entire postseason beforehand. Kenya's going to be yanked out. He'll be replaced by Diego Rodriguez, who has an ERA at 10 in 6 2/3 postseason innings. The Mets have some very weird guys in their bullpen. Some guys who really should not be pitching here. They need some actual relievers. Luis Rengifo lines it to the pitcher, and Rodriguez makes me bite my words. That was an awesome snag by the lefty. That'll bring up Jacob Berry. The 1-2. Grounds it up the middle, and Rodriguez blocks it with what looks like his foot, and he makes another really impressive play. The Marlins had 2 more runs, though, with a homer by Brian De La Cruz as we go into the 9th inning. Who's going to close out the game? Will it be Duran or Clase? It's going to be Johan Duran. The Marlins just do not trust Emmanuel Clase. He's blown 2 games in a row. Regardless if De La Cruz hit the home run or not, it would have been Duran coming into the game. Bobby Witt Jr. leads it off, hits it into foul territory, and Berry is under it for out number 1. The Marlins are 2 outs away from sending this to a Game 7. Austin Meadows now, 3-2, draws a walk, and the Mets get a base runner. That's what they've got to do, stack some guys on base and get a big hit. Moncada goes down looking on the 101-mile-an-hour fastball up and away. It comes down to Ronnie Mauricio, who hits it well into left, and that one is gone. 2-run homer for Ronnie Mauricio. Again, his first of the postseason. And the Mets are making things awfully interesting. It's now 7-6. Imagine if De La Cruz didn't hit the home run in the last inning. There would be panic here. Now, the Marlins are going to be on the edge of their seat. Maybe not panic, but they've got to make sure they get Manuel Margot out. 1-1. Weak grounder. Duran. Going to be a tough play. Throw to first is in time. We're headed to 7. The Marlins keep their season alive as they win it 7-6 here in Game 6 against the New York Mets. Wasn't always pretty, but we got the job done. The offense started slow, but they produced down the stretch. We only had 7 hits, but 4 of them went over the fence. The Mets also relied on the long ball, going deep 3 times with just their 8 hits. Butterbaugh started strong, then he really slowed down, and the bullpen overall was kind of shaky for New York. Again, we had 7 hits, but 4 of them went beyond the fence. Brian De La Cruz and Jacob Berry went deep, while Isaac Stu homered twice. Luis Severino was pretty solid. The bullpen did a pretty good job, although Duran made it a little bit closer than we needed to there in the 9th. But it won't matter as we're headed to 7. As for the AL series, Minnesota did get the job done in Game 6. Finally, a home team won, and it's because of Minnesota's pitching. They allowed 16 runs in the first 2 games, but after that, they only allowed 7 in the last 4. As for us, we're going to a Game 7. We've got our Cy Young, Edward Cabrera, on the mound. He's super well rested. He's barely pitched over the last week and a half, and he'll be ready to go as long as we need him to. For the Mets, it'll be former number 1 overall draft pick Ryan Stevenson, who looks to send him to the World Series. That'll wrap up the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Next episode will be Game 7, our season on the line with our best pitcher getting the start. Hope everybody enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.